What is abusive, but not widely recognized as abuse? Not allowing your children to show unhappy emotions. Withholding life skills from your offspring to keep them insecure and dependent. Edit. If this resonates with you, there's an excellent support sub at r/Estranged Adult Kids. Using guilt to manipulate the people closest to you. My grandmother, 99, can send my mom, 80, into such darkness with a swift and stinging comment. I hate to see it. And it is absolutely abusive. Parents that are super controlling and won't let their children make age-appropriate decisions. Calling your partner vulgar, offensive names in arguments. So many people believe this is normal couple behavior. Encouraging someone when they are having destructive behaviors. Putting the pressure of huge expectations on a child and then telling everyone that all of these dreams are the child's dreams even though they're obviously yours. Using therapy speak to try and demonize anyone who inconveniences you as an abuser. Using good intentions as leverage to control people. And demonize them when they ultimately choose another route. Taking a kid's door. Privacy and control issues for life. Deny your kid any semblance of privacy. And they will become excellent at hiding things from you. It's a power play punishment. Not an instructive one. At least not in the way parents hope. It's especially backward-headed when used as a punishment for hiding things from the parents. As it reinforces that things must be hidden, better. Not letting employees have a lunch break. Edit. Yes, it's illegal. My job requires constant monitoring, but it's a desk job so I don't care. I just eat and work at the same time. If it were any other job I would speak up. I'm also in the office completely by myself. Which is nice. The silent treatment. Not providing emotional support, shutting down someone's emotions and telling them they are invalid or don't matter. Parental alienation. Telling lies to children about their other parent. Really screws with kids' heads because they are 50% that other person. When you come home in a bad mood and take it out on your family. They didn't do anything and they love you. Don't fuck it up with the name calling and yelling. Talk to them instead or ask if you can just be left alone. Being yelled at all the time and those yells either having subtle or not threats, even if there's no action on those words, it counts as mental abuse. Controlling someone's finances. Parentification of a child. Usually the eldest child. In fiction, especially kids shows where the parents are absent. It's usually the eldest kid who looks after the younger siblings. Trying to shame, gaslight someone out of their own aspirations. Pursuing their own happiness due to your own insecurities and jealousy. IDK if this is everywhere, but this is certainly my experience. Bullying in school. We all know that bullying is abusive, but schools never treat it as such and neither do parents. Forcing children to hug and kiss relatives when they clearly don't want to. Telling someone that they did not hear or see what they did. Making them question their memory and sanity, just so you don't look bad. Telling someone how they feel. Or how they should feel. Rage driving. Intentionally driving fast, recklessly to frighten passengers. Compulsive. Consistent. Lying. You take away someone's ability to consent to a situation when you lie to them. Using your child's SSN to open a credit card or set up an account such as a utility bill. Editing to add. If this is happening or has happened to you, freeze your credit. Make it so that only you can authorize a line of credit being opened in your name. That's a good place to start to regain control. Haven't seen it commented yet. But not teaching your children good food behaviors. Sets them up for EDs and a lifetime of self-esteem issues. Mandatory overtime. Work beyond your physical and mental well-being or you'll lose your income source. Elder abuse. Especially when it's one elderly spouse abusing the other. It's like the entire medical system and society is blind to it. God. I can name so many things. Subtle comments about somebody's appearance. In hopes that they'll become insecure with themselves. Programming your partner to not see their friends. And to feel like they need to engage with you most. Not supporting their passions. While acting like you're not against them investing in them. Being controlling. Or overly jealous. And #X200B. It saddens me how many insane, abusive people there are out there. that likely won't get identified as such by their partners. If you're not able to be who you want to be, and see who you want to see, because your partner respects you and trusts you to do what you say you will, there's some abuse in the equation. Mocking someone with the defense, "Oh come on. I was just joking. Sheesh. Lighten up." When young children display behaviors that make them seem old and wise, or beyond their years, it can be a symptom of them being parentified. I recently sat through an award ceremony that was all red flags. Children receiving awards for noticing when their teachers were not feeling well, checking on everyone else, putting the adults' feelings before their own. Those kids are probably not okay. Not apologizing to your kids when you're wrong. Sexual assault in a married relationship. Emotional neglect. My parents, as a general rule of thumb, never gave a shit about anything going on with me unless I was getting low grades, less than 90% in their books. It's a rough one because it's the absence of caring as opposed to a concrete action. It's fucked up. Doing someone a favor or helping them out and then casually mentioning how difficult it was for you and that it was a huge sacrifice. "Hey, I got you your favorite candy bar. Oh, what a nice surprise, thank you so much. Yeah, I had to go 3 different places to find it and nearly roasted to death, it's so hot out. It's a lot more expensive than it used to be. Traffic was terrible. I almost got T-boned at the intersection. Which would have been the perfect end to the shitty day I had." Sometimes this is followed up later with, "Aren't you going to eat your fucking candy bar?" Do that enough to a child and when they're all grown up they'll be terrified to ever ask anyone for anything. And they'll assume that when someone does something nice that they're secretly resentful. Source. Guess. When I was with my ex 5 years ago, she tried to isolate me from a lot of my friends who were girls because she didn't like that about them and how close I was with them. Even though I was friends with them for years before she was ever in the picture. Unfortunately enough that worked and I didn't really reconcile with them about that situation until literally yesterday. And I actually almost cried because of the guilt I felt. So yeah, if your partner is trying to control who your friends are, especially based off their gender identity, just do yourself a favor and cut it off. LMFAO. Staying in an unhealthy marriage. For the kids. My parents are still together to this day despite practically despising each other, and it made our household so miserable to grow up in. I think a lot of parents like mine think they can hide their issues from their kids, but it just never ends up working in the end, as the problems always end up spilling over onto the children. It's definitely negatively impacted my overall mental health to have grown up in such a volatile and aggressive household. Constantly putting someone down and saying they're stupid. Neglect. Including neglecting your child's mental health. Being told that you shouldn't feel a certain way and that you are wrong. People should not try to control other people's emotions. Suicide threats. Cheating. You risk the physical and mental health of your partner. Systems abuse, i.e., abusers using the legal system, police or CPS to further isolate and control their victim. Telling your partner who they can and can't hang out with. General control over your partner. Emotional blackmail. Toxic positivity. Sibling abuse. Just because someone is related to you doesn't mean they have the right to verbally, mentally, emotionally, or physically abuse you. My older brother has done all these since we were young and my mother never put in much effort to stop him. Now I have no relationship with him because of how his abuse has gradually escalated. It's really disheartening to see my mother accept his abuse. She often uses that fact to tell me I should just do what she does and just ignore it. I was just a kid who needed protected and I can still feel that betrayal today. Narcissism. I'm talking about the true definition, not the insult. I've only realized how abusive it really is. Not understanding I've dealt with it my whole life. It's rough and almost no way to discuss it with the abuser. Telling your kids that they'll burn forever without their family if they don't do exactly what an invisible man wants them to do. All before they're old enough to be able to think critically about it enough to decide for themselves whether or not it's bullshit, because you know that once they're able to understand that adults lie to get what they want, they'll be less likely to connect adults lying with the wants and needs of an omnipotent imaginary friend. Forcing your kids to do anything political. A constant barrage of unsolicited advice. I had to deal with this a lot when I was younger. People who felt the need to impose themselves on me as life coaches and relentlessly criticize and nitpick everything about how I lived my life under the guise of just looking out for me or just trying to help. All they actually accomplished was to drive me crazy, and I'd inevitably wind up losing my temper, and whenever I did it was a sure thing that everyone would take their side against mine, because there's this idea in our culture that one should only ever be grateful for receiving criticism regardless of how out of line or inappropriate the criticizer is. Comparing you to someone else, thinking it's just a motivation to encourage you. This is gonna sound so weird. But parents not allowing their children to use computers or devices. Not only is it stunting your child's social development. I've heard of people who literally didn't let their kid use a computer for school assignments, including research. So you're stunting your child's academic development as well. Brief edit. Not allowing. I'm saying children need to be able to use a computer. Living vicariously through your child. Grooming your child to be a trophy kid. Throwing shit. Breaking shit. It's honestly weird how many people don't realize this is abuse. Just because you don't physically harm the other person does not mean it isn't abusive, scary, intimidating, threatening, etc. It's very clearly abusive. Workspaces that say they are, like a family. You know those employees work longer and do more than they are paid for. Using sex as a tool to reward and/or punish your partner. A society that does not give adequate shelter, food, medical and social care to its most vulnerable citizens. Rather than support them, brainwash the other citizens to punish and shame the vulnerable for reacting to circumstances that are mostly out of their control because they are not given adequate opportunity for growth, acceptance, or just to live in peace and quiet. Also, companies providing minimal wage that does not pay for basic care and living conditions while increasing profit margins and increasing the wealth gap between the haves and the have-nots. Silent treatment. Silent treatment is a form of emotional abuse. When a person refuses to communicate with you in order to control or influence your behavior. It can lead one to feel anxiety, intense abandonment, rejection, and overall distress. I'd probably go with institutional abuse. I used to work in various care settings and it happened all the time. I'm not referring to things like violence or shouting. I mean things like people asking, "Can I please have a cup of coffee?" Only to be told no. Coffee time is at 3 o'clock. Or can you please unlock this room so I can take a shower? And then being told no. I'm too busy right now. These may seem like minor things, but they mean everything if you're being held somewhere 24 hours a day for an extended period of time. It happens every day all over the world, but it's something that's almost never talked about. Kicking your kids out at age 18 just because you can. This might actually get downvoted because of how not widely recognized as abuse it is. But infant circumcision. The idea that it's wrong has been gaining a bit more traction recently, but seriously. Performing genital mutilation on your male children is deeply and incredibly normalized to the point that many people, in the USA at least, view it as gross, weird, and unhygienic if you haven't been clipped. And the vast majority of circumcisions are performed on someone who is incapable of consenting. Being the cool parent that lets your kid do whatever they want unmitigated. This doesn't get enough attention as a form of childhood abuse because when you're young you just think it's awesome. Until that kid grows up with no boundaries and bad decision-making skills that lead to a life of self-inflicted misery. We've all seen it happen with that one friend at school. Thinking you own your child's life forever. Family members making fun of your hobbies or how you eat, then saying they are just teasing, joking. I'm 33. I like anime and I eat a lot, but I do exercise 4/5 days a week. Yet they still make fun of me. I was testing you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.